So as you know, sometimes I like to try something slightly creative, and today we're gonna do something we've never done before, and I'm so excited, and I hope you love what's about to happen. I'm gonna invite my friend Roger Levin to come forward. Hopefully some of you know Roger. If not, welcome. This is Roger. Meet Roger. I've invited Roger to come today, and we're going to take a break intentionally before the maftir, and I want to explain to you why. The maftir is, we read the maftir, and what happens is we're going along in our Torah, we're in a certain story, in a certain narrative, in a certain place, and then we take out an entirely different Torah, and we read an entirely different story. So it's an interesting idea that we've taken one story, we stop, and then we start with a new story. And that's where Roger and I are going to have a conversation today. So this idea of an old story and a new story. Roger, I don't know how long ago it was now, but it was a little while back where Roger and I were talking about our favorite books. And he shared with me a few that he thought I would really love. And then he gifted them to me, and I have to say there was one of those books that actually was, for me, life-changing. The book, Roger, it's called Live the Best Story of Your Life. It's by Bob Litwin. We are not getting any royalties. But his book is, I think, transformative and totally aligns with the work of the High Holidays. So I want to first check in with Roger and ask you, Roger, why did you gift me this book? And let's start there. Okay. Why did you gift me your book?
And am I on? Can you hear me okay? So much comes out of great conversations, and just as a precursor, there is a Zen saying that I believe in: when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I had a significant change in my life late last year, and this book, I came across an interview with the author, Bob Litwin, by complete accident, and whether I would have paid any attention to it in normal times, I don't know. But I was ready, and after hearing him interviewed, I purchased the book, read the book, and the book has a lot of exercises in it, old story, new story, which you'll hear about. And I did the book, and I found it to be very powerful because it's about change in your life as you go forward. Any major change in any of our lives are going to change. And this was a conscious approach to what you want life to be like going forward as you move from old story to new story. And to answer your question, I gave it to Rabbi Saroken because I thought she counsels so many people and has been so wonderful to so many of us that maybe somebody else would benefit from the book, so I wanted her to be aware of it.
So Roger, thank you. And let's talk about the concepts of the book, which is really sort of what I think is the transformative work of the holidays. So the book essentially says that we all have an old story that we tell, right? It's the story really of the place that, it's a story that's been informed by maybe teachers, by parents, by coaches, by someone in a classmate that didn't really think too highly of you or didn't really believe in you, right? It's sort of a collection of voices that happens, to stay in our head. And they sort of tell us things that we can't do or things that we're not good at or things that we are getting wrong even. And we incorporate them into sort of the story about who we are and what we're capable of or what we actually aren't capable of. Will you speak a little bit to that idea, the concept of an old story?
Yeah, the old story is easier, but you also have to confront where you are in your life today. By the way, you can be happy and enjoy this book also. But at some point, we're all going to have different experiences in our lives. The old story is really looking at who you are today, what you're happy about, what you're not happy about, what you're feeling. It could be, there's so many normal things. I don't like my job. I don't like my boss. I have an illness, I've lost someone in my life, I have a controversy with a family member. And the old story is about really facing, in a rational way, what's happening today. The reason it's easier is because it's here, it's real, and you can identify what that is. So the old story is an important starting point before you start to think about the new story.
And if someone is struggling to create or to figure out what their old story, right, the story that you tell yourself maybe on repeat is, I always find that, a best friend, a partner, they oftentimes know your story, maybe even a little bit better than you do, because they hear you say it pretty often. Sometimes you don't even realize that that's your constant go-to, but it is. Can anyone think of like a part of their old story, like the story that they just tell? Yeah. Okay, does anyone else need a little bit of help? Roger, will you tell us, like just a piece of maybe what your old story was?
Sure. So, as Rabbi Saroken knows, my wife passed away last December, and I started this process actually in October because I saw the interview and bought the book, and I was looking at where was my life with a major change that was coming with what we were dealing with day to day. And again, I hope this will help. I hope the book will help somebody if you decide to read it. And I looked at the old story of where I was, what life was like at the time, what I was going through, and wrote about that and the effect it had on us, on me, on the family as well. So it was a real chance to sit down and confront something that maybe I would rather not have thought about as deeply at that time.
And then the idea of the book is that we have our old story, which is sort of our now story, right? It's a story that we tell to ourselves, sometimes to others, oftentimes to both. But that the new story that we can create, which is really the idea of Rosh Hashanah, that the new story is the aspirational story of our lives. So it doesn't actually need to be true or real yet. The hope is that when we tell that aspirational story about who we are, right, really who we aspire to be, that what can happen is once we get in touch with that person that we want to be, that we strive to be, if we can read that story and start to believe that story, that actually can become who we are. And so, Roger, how did that work for you?
So, as instructed in the book, you sit down and you write a new story of what you want your life to be like. Now, let me tell you that first, you feel very egotistical. If you read it to somebody, they would look at you and think you're very egotistical, because it's all about you. It's I, as instructed in the book. Secondly, you feel very hypocritical because it's not who you are. And when you read it and you say, well, that's really interesting, but that's all about where I'd like to go. So I wrote the new story about what future life would be like, what I'd like it to be. It's aspirational, it's inspirational, it's calming. It gives you a sense that there is hope, there is future, there is, life's going to evolve whether we like it or not. You get to take control in your story of what you want life to be like. And the beautiful thing is you don't have to believe in it or work hard at it. I have found it to be incredibly powerful. You're supposed to rewrite it at least 6 times so you get it to where you want it to be. I'm probably version 22. I'm a slow student. But as I read it every morning, it's a powerful reminder, and you start to gravitate in that direction. Unlike a lot of self-help material, you get to pick whatever you want. No one tells you what it should be, how you're going to do it. There's no timeline. But it's one of the most powerful concepts that I've come across for defining how you want to live your life. And I'm very glad I had the opportunity to come across the book and then discuss it with Rabbi Saroken.
So I want to just reiterate, Roger, so you read your new story, your aspirational story, did you say every day?
Every morning. Yeah. Doesn't take very long, so it kicks off my day and reminds me the direction I would like my day and life to go.
Do you feel like you've become more of your aspirational self because of the work?
Absolutely. In no way, if I read you my new story, which I'm not going to read you, if I read you my new story, in no way have I done 100%, 90%, 80%, or evolved into that. But yes, there's definite progress, and it's really positive and uplifting, and creates a lot of joy as you see yourself moving toward the vision you would like for your life going forward.
So I want to share with you also that I've done this work, I've done this exercise, this practice, if you will. I love my new story, and I've noticed that I am actually becoming that person, and it feels transformative and really life-changing that I could say, right, this is what the great Rav Soloveitchik says, is that the idea of the holidays is that we sever the cosmic eye, we sever that person that we once were, right, that we've always been, for the sake of recreating ourselves to be the new people that we aspire to be. So I would say this to you all in closing, and thank you so much, Roger, for sharing this concept, that sometime between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we want to invite you to do the work of writing your new story. It can be very private, very personal work. You might want to share it with someone or bounce ideas off of someone. But no matter what, this is the time to figure out who you have the capacity and potential to be and to believe in yourself, and then to start being that person, because that's what the work of the holidays really is for. So I wish for you all the opportunity to recreate yourselves anew this year, 5784, and to become, even if it's rereading it every day to remind yourself, the person that you aspire to be. Thank you.